Today we're in the company of an amazing woman, a five-time Australian champion, Winter Olympian, professional snowboarder. She's a fitness and Pilates instructor, founder of Premium Performance, female motivational fitness business. The list goes on. Speaker, rising media personality, expert commentator, panelist, TV presenter, and host. What a force to be reckoned with.
Oh my gosh, thank you for the lovely intro.
Welcome, Steph Prem.
Thank you.
Steph suffered an injury, and through Pilates and rehabilitation, Steph has bounced back stronger and more determined than ever, and is keen to share her story to inspire others. So there's so much to talk about. Thank you for your time today.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Can you give us an overview of your journey and how you got to where you are now?
Yes, well, I guess the long and short of it is that I was a member of the Australian snowboard team, and I competed at the 2010 Winter Olympics. That was the highlight of my sporting athletic career, which was a tough little journey because it's not easy being a winter sports athlete coming from Australia.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, following my Olympic debut in 2010, about 6 or 7 weeks following the Olympics, I had a fairly horrendous accident where I broke my back. When I say broke my back, I came off a jump incorrectly or really badly, and I missed the landing, and I dislocated my hip, and I fractured my spine, and I broke about 5 ribs, and dislocated my hip, and just had crazy hematomas, and did some severe damage to the sort of left side of my body, and tore my left hamstring as well. So my left side took quite a beating, which unfortunately ended my professional sporting career. So following that accident, it's sort of just been, I guess, like you mentioned, a rehab journey and a health journey to get myself back, which is tricky after being an athlete for so long and completely taking your body for granted, and then having to sort of learn to build yourself up from the inside out again, not both just physically but mentally, and get yourself back. I was convinced for years that I'd be back competing again, and hopefully would have been competing at the next Olympics, but obviously that wasn't an option for me. So just I guess transitioning from sport into life and into business, and sort of starting again, and that's sort of where my, I guess, motivational fitness side of my business started. I was rehabbing my own self, and then I started to help other people rehab themselves or get back into fitness and learn to love health and fitness again, and that's sort of where Premium Performance stemmed from.
Yeah. Wow. I've broken many bones in my life, not all at the same time though. And the mental side to it, people, I guess, don't really understand how much it takes to get back on board.
I think definitely anyone who's had an injury would know how much we underestimate just how much it can affect you on a daily basis, a weekly basis, monthly, yearly, daily routine, things we take for granted are all affected when you're injured and when you hurt yourself. So it definitely is so much mental as well as it is physical. Yeah.
So at the age of 24, you were one of the world's top female snow sport athletes, and was the only woman to represent Australia in snowboard cross at the 2010 Vancouver Winter Olympics. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
I did the border cross. The border cross is the one where there's, six people at a time going down a big obstacle course. It's the one with the jumps and the bumps, turns and berms, thrills and spills. A very good spectator event, and often, probably better to be a spectator than it is a competitor in that event. It's definitely was an outlet for my white line fever for a very long time.
So can you give us an idea of what your training schedule was like when you were competing?
Definitely.
I'm sure it was
when I was
intense.
training, when, you make that decision to be an Olympic athlete and to strive towards, qualifying for an Olympic Games. I think half the challenge people don't realise is just qualifying and getting yourself there, as opposed to getting a result once you are there. Especially in my event, you had to be ranked in the top 22 women in the world just to be selected to go to the Olympics. And I think when we come from a sunburnt country that, only sees snow 3 months a year if we're lucky, you underestimate just there's a lot of people in the world that grow up with snow in their backyards. So, I had to train minimum 25 hours a week. It was pretty much my full-time job. And I'm pretty small as well, so it took a lot of extra strength training for me. I'm very open to say that I'm not a naturally gifted athlete. I'm definitely, as much as I was at the top of my game in female snow sports, I'm definitely not naturally born to be a professional athlete, and I wasn't one of the best snowboarders in the world. I was just very competitive and very driven, and I think just was willing to work really, really hard, which in a sport like bordercross, you had good days and bad days, but a lot of the time the competitive edge helps a lot, and just be willing, I guess, to put your balls on the line a bit on race day. The training schedule was tough, and I did everything from cycling and swimming and dancing and strength and conditioning work, Pilates, everything, cross training, to obviously in the winter months I would be on snow, for most of the hours of the day, but it was the off season that was the most important, and that's when I'd be doing strength and conditioning and physio and recovery work 25 hours a week.
Even the climate change, was that something that was really difficult being in Australia? I'm not sure if that really affects.
No, definitely tricky. Like the coldest winter months we get in Australia, it might get to -5 maximum. And when I was living in, I had to live in Europe and America and Canada for 4 or 5 months of the year. It can, some mornings I was up at 6 a.m. training in -22 degrees. And that's foul. It's so different. It's really, really, really tricky and really hard to adjust. And you don't ever get used to it. I'm still I do boot camps in the park now, and people are like, oh, you'd be used to this. And I'm like, no, I'm used to beanies and thermals and layers and jackets, and it's completely different. And you definitely, your body takes a lot to adjust, and I don't think my circulation's ever improved because of it.
Awesome. So when you went through that injury, can you tell us what you learnt about mindset? As we spoke before, it is very mental, the recovery, and how you sort of overcame the news, because you also mentioned that you had hopes of going back and competing again.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really tricky. I was misdiagnosed at first with how severe my injury was as well. And I guess I probably never wanted to hear how serious and how severe it actually was. And I've always been a pretty spirited and go hard or go home kind of personality. And unfortunately, that's a really, really bad personality to have when you're trying to rehab a very severe injury. And I went to every specialist under the sun, and I got told a lot of different things, but a lot of the key things were lining up that I needed to pull myself back. And, I had to take 1.5 years off my snowboard, and that's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And, I had to stop doing all impact sports. I had to, I couldn't run, I couldn't surf, I couldn't snowboard. I came from a background where I was completely action sports based. To having to relearn to train my body with a lot of conditioning type things, and introducing myself to a lot more clinical type things like Pilates, and a lot more core based work and stability type work, and my body just would not do the things it used to be able to do. And mindset wise, that's really, really difficult. And I guess because I'd already been to the Olympics, and being an athlete, you always set goals, short term, long term. And I've always been someone that I set a goal and I stick to it and follow through. And for me, I just wanted the next Olympics to be my next long-term goal. So when it came to my rehab, I just was always sort of pushing through to sort of get to that. Unfortunately, probably not taking into account just how serious the injury was. So, you know, it's good and bad. And I often say that sometimes maybe it wasn't a bad thing because at least it kept me driven and it kept me pushing through the injury and turning up for rehab every day, even though some days it nearly killed me. But, yeah, I mean, the reality of my situation is I'm, you know, almost 5 years on from the injury and I still can't do most impact sports. I still can't jog without pain. I still can't do any loading exercises without pain. And it probably took 3 years to change my mindset.
Wow.
Actually realised that I wasn't capable of doing a lot of things I could do. And unfortunately, I just kept pushing myself further and further and kept going snowboarding when I was told not to snowboard and kept doing silly things that I wasn't meant to do, which just pushed back my recovery process as well. And it wasn't until I really changed my mindset into, I guess, realising how serious it was and resetting some realistic goals and, yeah, changing my outlook to be more positive, but towards getting back to doing things that I really wanted to do again, as opposed to going to an Olympic Games. So I guess, you know, from an advice point of view, I would say goals are really, really important. And the short-term ones are often more important than the long-term. If you keep just aiming for the long-term goal the whole time, it's really hard to kick goals with all the little things, and the little things are what's important. And I'm so much happier now, you know, without being introduced to things like Pilates and, you know, Reformer and all these other really functional exercise that I wasn't doing a lot of before because I was doing such extreme type things and extreme explosive type of training beforehand. I definitely wouldn't be where I am now with my fitness business. So, I guess when it comes to goal setting, you have to work out where you really, really want to go. And then you have to work out, you know, your 10 steps in order to get there. And you can't cheat them on the way, unfortunately, as we'd all like to. It's human nature. And I'm definitely not perfect. And it's definitely human nature. I think we all want to jump 3 steps ahead all the time. And it doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, you just end up going 3 steps forward, 2 steps back the whole time, I think. So, positive goal setting. And, you know, I had to do a lot of training and a lot of mental training to, I guess, really understand the severity of my body and where I wanted to be, not like looking beyond, say, an Olympics or where I just wanted to be in my life, you know, where I saw myself, where I saw, you know, my partner and I and what we want to do in our life and where we want to go and all the exciting things I still want to achieve outside of sport in life. And, you know, you need to be fit and healthy and happy to do all those things. And when you're not functioning well, you can't do all of that. So
totally.
Yeah, you know, I did everything from vision boards to visualization. I worked with a sports psych for a while just to sort of retrain myself in some more positive ways of thinking. You know, like I said, start small and just, you know, it's great to dream big, but, you know, you've got to start small with your goals to build up to the big thing, the big picture at the end.
Yeah, totally. And you were saying it took 3 years to sort of get back into it again, which is a really good message because people think that there's quick fixes around, but even when you've come from such a strong place, it's always an ongoing journey. It's not like you can just quickly jump and change things, whether it's your mindset or jump into a certain goal that you want.
Absolutely.
No matter what the goal is, but
totally. And we're all creatures of habit, I think. So it always takes retraining. There's never really a quick fix as much as we all want to be. I work in the health and fitness industry and everyone wants a quick fix. Whether it's for fitness, whether it's for weight loss, whether it's for, you know, running a marathon or, you know, whatever it may be. Everyone wants a quick fix, and unfortunately none of those things come easily. And, you know, and unfortunately you have to put in 110% most of the time. If you know, put in a quick fix effort or a mediocre effort, you'll get a mediocre or quick fix result. And it's, it's the same, I guess it's a silly example, but it's with weight loss. People say, well, it is easy, you just stop eating and that's quick, you know, but again, the long-term result is not going to be sustainable. So totally. I think it's the same with anything in life. If you really want to get somewhere and you want to do it well, then you've really got to put in the hard miles and put in the work so that, you know, you get long-term. And that's my whole philosophy behind my health and fitness business. Maintenance is a huge, huge part of, You know, it was a huge part of my recovery tools. It's a huge part of myself looking after myself now and keeping myself fit and healthy to be able to keep other people fit and healthy.
Yeah.
But it's the same for everyone. If you don't have routine, if you don't have a good maintenance plan, if you're not willing to put in the hard yards with your body, you know, you've only got one.
Yeah.
Then you're not going to get the long-term results you want out of it.
Yeah.
So
totally.
I think that applies to so many things in life.
Yeah, it does. So you covered goals a bit when you were talking. Do you have any specific tips when it comes to setting both long-term and short-term goals?
Yeah.
In a way, setting them up to actually be achievable.
Yes, definitely. I think it's, you know, goal setting can be a really hard one, and people can get really intimidated by goal setting. And it's like when people join up for gyms now, there's often a thing like, what's your goals? What's your whatever?
Yeah.
And, you know, some people love that. Some people are very goal driven or goal centric. And a lot of people have never grown up with that. Like, I've grown up in sports. It seems it's like second nature for me to set goals, but a lot of people have never grown up with something like that. So I think, like I said, you've got to start small, but you've also got to be really honest with your goal setting. I think if you just set something really huge, and like I said, I would never not encourage someone to dream big and to be optimistic and whatever. But again, like, it takes a lot of steps to get to that high goals. So I'd always say, write them down, be vocal about them, express them out loud. That's how I think that's, like, a lot of people are really scared of saying their goals out loud. Like, it's a bad thing.
Yeah. Or then they're committed. If they say them out loud, they're committed. So But that's the whole purpose of it.
I think with anything in life, you need an accountable. And when it comes to goal setting, you definitely need to create yourself an accountable. And it could be a family member, it could be a best mate, it could be a co-worker, you know, like a fitness buddy, whatever it may be. You need an accountable to keep you stern to your own words.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you can't say them out loud in the first place, then they're never going to be achievable. Yeah. And if you can't stick to them, then you're never going to get to the big goal anyway. Mm-hmm. So, you know, whether it's just to get out of bed and have a better morning routine every day, whether it's to make sure you go to the gym 3 times a week, you know, whether you're trying to be a little bit better with your health goals or your weight loss goals, or maybe it's just spend more time at home or cook more family meals, whatever it may be. Everyone has goals to be better for themselves or more centered as a person or more relaxed or less stressed or more healthy or fitter, whatever it may be. They all come together. Yeah. I think so when you're looking at them, if, say, for example, your goal was weight loss, you know, or your goal was to be healthier, in the end they're the same kind of thing. You've got to look at all aspects. So you've got to look at the mental goal, you've got to look at the physical goal, and you've got to look at what you're willing and what you're prepared and what you're able to do to make those things happen. Yeah. So I guess you've really got to break it down. So first, you know, work out what the goal is, have a really solid goal, write it down, say it out loud, and then break it into, you know, 3 to 5 parts. Yeah. And part 1 would be the easy part and the first stepping stone, and part 5 would be, you know, the long-term harder part of that goal. Yeah. And then you've just got to work out, you know, you've got to diarise it, you've got to make someone accountable or keep you accountable, whether it's your partner or your husband, your co-worker, whoever it may be, sister, brother, you know, best friend, and ask them to check in on you as well, you know. Keep yourself accountable. Yeah. And write them down, or, like, I used to have a vision board, you know, and even if it's just like a Pinterest account where you can start, you know, collating some goals or exercises or pictures or motivational things that inspire you on a daily basis. Little things like that, you know, so something you stick on your wall at work just to keep you motivated. Motivation is a huge part of goal setting. So it's got to be achievable. It's got to be, you've got to have an accountable, and you've got to stay motivated. So you just have to put some things in place that can help you get to all those things. Yeah, totally. Does that make sense?
It totally does. Definitely. I think
if it doesn't fit into your diary and you can't make it work, you're not going to get there.
Yeah. And also I love the breaking it down part, because, you can have a goal to lose however many kilos or something. But, there's so many ways to do that.
If you don't have the actions in place to do that, it's like when people say their New Year's resolution is to get more fit. I'm going to get healthy this year. I think I might get a personal trainer. I'm going to try to go to the gym this many times a week. but it's all talk until it eventuates. So, you know, the first step is to ring the gym. The first step is to ring a personal trainer. The first step is to turn up, you know.
Yeah.
So that can be step 1, you know, and step 5 is, you know, 6 or 12 months down the track when you're actually turning up 3 times a week and have a routine and you are a fit and healthy person dedicated to that lifestyle. But if you have not booked in an appointment, you know, got a membership or not going more than once a week, you're nowhere near that long-term goal.
Yeah.
So, you know, the easiest part of the goal setting can be just making the appointments with yourself in your diary sometimes. Mm-hmm. You know, or keeping yourself motivated or telling a friend. Like I said, they're the first parts, and then everything else will kind of, I think, unravel from there.
Yeah, yeah. So true. So after everything that you've achieved and been through, what is your ultimate mission or message that you want to get out to the world?
That's a really tough one. I think it's a big, you know, it's a huge call, and there's many messages, I guess. But from a healthy, you know, from my philosophy for, you know, health, which I think is your wealth, and everything else, you know, mine was taken away from me. So I guess that's when you really learn how to find yourself again and how to live a happier life. And for me, living a happy life means a healthy life. Yeah. And I think my whole philosophy and my whole, I guess, as you said, message to the world is a maintenance plan. You know, everyone needs to look after themselves and everyone can do it better. Yeah. You know, I think every single one of us resonate with health and wellness and fitness and happiness. You know, everyone wants to be happier. Everyone wants to be healthier. And we all need to take better steps to doing that. I don't think anyone's perfect, and no one needs to be perfect. It's not something you need to be perfect at. Yeah. It's just something we all need to be a little bit better at. And what works for someone won't work for someone else. You know, no 2 people are the same. So you need to work out your own vision and you need to work out your own sort of, I guess, healthy journey, if you will, and really have, you know, put your non-negotiables in place and commit to what's really important to you. We all get caught up in life. We all get caught up in work, and we all get caught up in what we think is more important. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you don't look after yourself, then you end up in a bit of trouble, and we all end up in this vicious cycle where we're back trying to reset our goals again, or trying to get healthier again, or fitter again, or whatever it may be, or more focused, or less stressed, or more family orientated, or whatever it may be. Yeah. So I guess my message to the world is stick to your own guns. Just because, you know, Sharon at work's doing something doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Yeah. You know, or just because, you know, your husband's on a trail to do something else, or your best friend, it's not going to work for you. It's great to have buddies, and it's great to have like-minded people in your life to share and do things with, but you're only one person, so you have to work out what works for you. Set your non-negotiables, and look after yourself the best you can. Yeah.
And I guess if you are with someone all the time, they've got their motivation to get to their goals, and that might not be your motivation. So, even if you strive for what they want, you're not going to keep going with it because...
Absolutely not, because it's not you have to operate off your own value system. Yeah. So if it's not true to what like, you know, if it doesn't get you out of bed in the morning and you know, you don't put yourself to bed at night feeling pretty happy about it, then it's not the right thing for you. Yeah. So it really has to be driven from, you know, it has to come from a bit of passion. It has to come, you know, my whole philosophy for my fitness business is fitness has to be fun. Yeah. You know, I'm not there to pummel people and punish people. I'm actually there for them to enjoy health and fitness. Yeah. And I think if you don't have that, if you don't have a reason for getting out of bed every morning, then something's missing. You have to change. You have to change it. So, and you don't have to be so strict on yourself that you hate life either. You know, I don't believe in dieting, and I don't believe in cutting out alcohol, and I don't believe that we need to restrict ourselves either. You know, balance is a strong word, but you can have a very good life-work balance and health-life balance and whatever it may be, without completely punishing yourself. And everyone needs to work that out for themselves. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're excessive humans. It's in our, you know, I think I don't know if it's an Australian thing, but, you know, we love to work hard, play hard, and we love to do things in excess, and we love to really go hard at everything, but it's maybe not always the way. And I'm totally saying that from personal experience, and I'm definitely learning that myself still. But I came from I used to be a complete extremist, you know, and now I run a, you know, health, fitness and Pilates business for a living. So I've had to learn to recenter myself a little bit. You know, and I'm not someone that I don't jump out of bed and meditate every day. I'm not so, I guess, soulful and centered in that sense. I absolutely thrive off, you know, being in the mountains and being in the outdoors, and you know, I love a little dirty sweat and, you know, working out still, but, you know, everything has to be done, you know, with a balance. And you know, I love to have a good glass of wine on a Friday night, and I love and enjoy good healthy food as well. But again, you know, I'm learning as much as everyone else that it has to work for you, and just because your partner eats something doesn't mean it's the right thing for you to eat. Just because your best friend's passionate about something doesn't mean you have to be passionate about it. You've just really got to work out your own goals and your own.
And what makes you happy as well. If something makes you really, really happy and someone's telling you, no, you can't do that, then you're going to be miserable.
Absolutely.
So what's the point in that?
I totally agree. The minute someone tells you to cut something else or not do it, all you're going to want to do is do it more. So it's like when people tell you to cut ice cream and chocolate out of your diet, you know, all you're going to think about is, and that comes back to the mental side of things as well. The minute you start restricting your body of things and restricting your lifestyle of things, then it's not going to work, you know. So you've really got to be open-minded. You've got to be willing to change. You've got to be willing to try new things. And I learned that, you know, I thought I was totally into certain things, you know, 5 years ago, that am now into, you know, different things as well. And I still love a bit of the old stuff, but I really know what works for me now and what I need to do to operate well and function well to be able to do all the extreme stuff that I used to be able to do as well.
And I think there's always alternatives. So if you do really enjoy something, then there's always another option. So you with snowboarding or with the chocolate or the food.
Exactly.
There's always another alternative. So
there's always alternatives. It's like with fitness and exercise. If people hurt themselves, there's always another exercise you can do. There's always a different form of something you can do. You don't have to stop everything or restrict yourself completely. Totally. I mean, my new studio space is totally based around having the option to be able to do a bit of everything. You know, if you're stressed at work or your body's sore from doing a big strength week of, you know, a big week of training, you can come in and do some yoga and, you know, do some Pilates or do a stretch class, try something different. But if you want something more explosive, go and do some explosive classes. You know, you don't have to be a yogi or a strict, you know, gym junkie. You know, you can do a little bit of everything, and that's so good for you. And that's, I think, the approach you should take to, you know, your life and your, you know, healthy goals as well. Try a bit of everything. Definitely.
So who or where do you get your inspiration from? Is there people that
I guess it always changes, but a lot of my inspirations throughout, I guess, my whole sporting career and athletic career has always been from my family. My parents are very, very driven people, and you know, I'm very successful, I guess, in business and in life, and I've always admired that. They work really hard, but they've always, you know, put aside time to enjoy life as well. They're definitely a very good example of work hard, play hard kind of people. You know, and I've always sort of admired that, and they've always been, I guess, very motivating and very, very supportive of decisions for me throughout my life. So, they always continue to inspire me, and they are people I would always, you know, go to first and foremost. You know, my whole family, my parents, my sister and my husband, they're my inner circle, you know, the trusted ones. And they'd be my biggest influences in life and most inspirational people. I think the people you surround yourself with should be the most inspiring people. Yeah, absolutely.
So this is something everyone loves to know. Do you have like a daily routine, whether it's a morning routine or something that you do throughout the day to keep you going?
Yeah, absolutely. I never used to. I've had to train myself to have a good morning routine. And I used to have to get up early every day for sport, but I'm not an early morning person, even though I now open my studio every morning, 5:30, 6 a.m. But I've definitely had to train that. So I've like speaking of non-negotiables,
Yep.
I've made a really strong little morning routine for myself. It's super simple, but I get up, I just get up that 10, 15 minutes earlier every morning just for myself to have some quality Steph time, if you want to call it. And I would just do maybe 3 Pilates exercises. I just have a yoga mat set up in my living room. And it, for me especially, it's very rehab based because of my injury. So I'm always a better person if I spend a little bit of time on my body and my back first thing in the mornings.
Yeah.
So I just do like 3 little mat exercises, just some little activation exercises in the morning and little stretches. And then I would have a really hot shower just to warm up and, take on the world and warm up my body and my muscles. And I would normally most days start my morning with a lemon water.
Yeah.
So a hot glass of water with some fresh lemon, a little stretch and a hot shower. That's my sort of non-negotiable.
Yeah, awesome. That's so similar to me.
Yeah.
So basic.
So simple, but it's so effective.
Yeah, yeah. So what's one piece of advice that you would give to someone in a younger generation, maybe something that you would have liked to know when you were growing up or in your teens?
Yeah. I think looking back or even now, I think the number one piece of advice would be stay true to yourself. I think especially when you're younger, it's very easy to get caught up in everything else going on around you.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that pretty early on with my sports. Being a competitive sports person at a young age was tricky, and you had to make a lot of sacrifices and you had to learn to say no to a lot of things in life. And, peer pressure and, anything that gets involved when you're younger is really tricky. And that was hard for me at times, but I learned pretty quickly just to sort of, I guess, stick to my guns. And I knew I was sort of on a path to, big things. And I think if you stay true to yourself and absolutely 110% wholeheartedly believe in what you're doing, then you're never going to have any dramas.
Yeah.
So I think, and that's totally my philosophy now with my business and my transition from sport to life and business is just, it's like when I was trying to go to the Olympics, I never not believed I wasn't going to go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Even though qualifying was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, it's like starting up my own business now. It definitely has its challenges. But the minute you lose faith in yourself, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So, stay true to yourself, believe in yourself wholeheartedly, and just and keep getting out of bed and taking the punches every day for it.
Yeah.
In belief that there's, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, and everything works out. It's something that just keeps coming up in my life. Like if you hit road bumps or some things that might seem so big at the time, that it just, it all works out. There's nothing that...
And if you have to go in a different direction along the way, then sometimes that's meant to be, or something, something positive can always come from a negative. So you have to be willing to look for the positive, though.
Yeah. Oh!
Sorry, my computer just fell.
That's all right. That's okay. So where can everyone find you?
You can find me on all our socials. So my personals are just Steffi Prem. You can find me on Instagram, and then my business is Premium Performance.
Yeah.
So if you just look us up at Premium Performance, you'll find us. My health blog is Premium Performance, premium-performance.com.
Yeah.
And then the new studio, which opens officially, we're literally just opening as we speak, is called Studio PP. So it's our new headquarters for Premium Performance, and it's in South Yarra in Melbourne. And again, you'll find us Studio PP on Facebook, or if you just Google Premium Performance, you'll always find us.
Yeah. Awesome. That's so exciting. I'm so excited to see everything that you have planned coming up. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
It was so good chatting with you.
It's fabulous. Thank you for having me having me involved.
That's okay, no worries. And hopefully we can catch up down in Melbourne sometime soon.
You are invited anytime. I encourage you all to come visit.
Excellent, thanks so much.
Thank you.